Mohsin Saab is here, and Meher is here. Miss Rahmani is here, Faisal Rahmani, she is doing a show, and all other people, so forgive me if I haven't mentioned you, so forgive me for that. Alright, and here we have the host of this event, the beautiful host with lots of talent in her, Miss Najma Malik. Alright, so since we all know that on 22nd of October, there will be an election for city council election, and here we hope that some very dedicated people, dedicated personalities, shut down. So some very dedicated people will be elected, and we hope that Mr. Patrick Brown would be one of those people. Yeah? I remember that before giving it to you, I'll mention here that on this very set, I had a chance to interview Mr. Patrick Brown, and next time I will be inviting you both. All right? You have to come. So I had a chance, and then I remember that we had a very good feedback on that Patrick Brown was here, and it was my first show here in Canada and with Angel Television. So what happened? Okay, we have now Sal Ahmed among us. All right, thank you so much for coming. You're late. Okay, so I remember that Mr. Patrick Brown said that crime is going through the roof, unemployment is going through the roof, insecurity is going through the roof. So what else is going through the roof? I would mention here is his campaign is going through the roof and through the windows. He's very much popular. I've been seeing him like many places. Many people have the chance to become hosts for him and meet and greet. So now I won't keep him waiting. So the mic would be in his hands, and you'll be open to ask questions first. Thank you so very much, Mr. Patrick Brown, for your patience.
Well, thank you for having me here today. To our host, Najma, thank you for this opportunity. It's great to have Genevieve on the stage as well. She loves talking in public. She loves being voluntold to come up on the stage. But I should recognize we also have our friend Fahim Ali, who's here today. He's one of the great campaign managers in Peel region. I'm going to have to recruit him up to Brampton to work on the campaign. But it's an exciting campaign. It's about getting Brampton back on track. Right now, taxes are higher than they are in Toronto for the first time. Brampton has higher taxes than Toronto. Traffic is a mess. Crime is reaching record heights. Last year was a record for shooting. This year, it's even higher. 20 homicides this year. Used to think of Brampton as a safe place to live, and not many people are saying that now. 65% of the city leaves Brampton to work elsewhere. We need to have jobs in Brampton. And yet right now we have a mayor that says everything's fine. We had a debate earlier this week, and I talked about the fact we need to do better when it comes to jobs and investment. And she said there's lots of jobs here. Well, I don't know what city she's living in, because 65% of people in Brampton leave each day. You know, if she doesn't believe me, she should go to the GO train in the morning. And it's packed. People leaving the city. You can't even find a seat. You go on the 410 in the morning, it's a parking lot. We need to do a better job at economic development. These are the type of issues that I'm bringing up in the campaign. And you look at Amazon, they just announced their big fulfillment center, 800 jobs this summer. They announced it's going to Caledon. Dixie Cup announced that they're leaving Brampton. So when you've got businesses leaving and new ones going around you, but not in Brampton, we've got a problem. We need a Hazel McCallan type approach. We need to be aggressive and hungry and chase investment in jobs. 30 years ago, Brampton and Mississauga had similar amounts of business square feet. There's similar footprints, which makes sense. Brampton and Mississauga are close in size, both near an airport. Guess what it is today? Brampton has 2 million square feet of commercial space. Mississauga has 50 million. That's leadership. That is political leadership that has excelled in Mississauga and failed in Brampton. And the consequence of that is you don't have industry supporting your tax base. And when you don't have industry supporting your tax base, it all goes on the residential base. And it's not that it's for more services. You have less police officers here in Brampton, 25% less than the provincial average. It's not like you got better recreation. It costs more to use recreation in Brampton. It costs more to rent a soccer field. It's not like you got better transit. They're building subways in other communities and we have nothing new happening. So we need change at City Hall because the same old approach isn't working for the community. We need to shake things up and say, we're not going to accept this downward slide for our community, that we aspire for greater things from Brampton. This, after all, is Bill Davis's Brampton. You know, Premier Bill Davis was the Premier of Ontario from 1971 to 1985. And during that period, Brampton was the envy of Ontario. That's our history, and that's what we're capable of. I really believe that that's what Brampton is capable of. But we actually need to have a mayor that's going to stand up for our community.
You're right. Please.
You know, I look at the hospital. We need a new hospital, and our mayor, you know, seems to be happy with whatever leftover scraps they give us. The health minister came here and had a big announcement and announced he's going to build 6 new beds. And our mayor said, thank you for your incredible leadership, and then praised the provincial government. I would have kicked him out of town and said, you know, if anyone took liberties with Mississauga when Hazel was mayor, she would have tore a strip off them. But we seem to be happy with leftover scraps. And it's not just on healthcare we're being shortchanged. And if you want to see how much we're being shortchanged in healthcare, you go to the hospital in Oakville and compare the difference. You go to the hospital in Georgetown and compare the difference. It's night and day. You have worse healthcare in Brampton. But look at the university. Markham's getting this brand new university center, 10,000. So Markham's getting 10,000 students. But our mayor negotiated a deal where we're only getting a satellite campus, 1,500 students. And they're going to charge you $50 million to do that. All this talk we're going to get our own university, and all we're getting is a satellite campus. Just on computer science. We need a university of Brampton. You look at transit, Scarborough's getting a $3 billion subway, and we're supposed to be happy with $200 million for an LRT extension? We get leftover scrap after leftover scrap. But what I'm noticing increasingly is there's an appetite for change. That people in this community are saying, you know what, we're not happy. We are fed up, and we're gonna be counted this time. That we know we can do better in this community. And what's so heartening for me, I knock on doors and people say, good, we want someone to pitch a different approach for Brampton. I go to community events and there's a surprising level of awareness about this election. And I can tell you there's people from all sides, whether it's former NDP candidates, progressive conservatives, liberals, joining together saying, parties don't matter right now. It doesn't matter if you are NDP, liberal, or conservative. This is about getting Brampton back on track. And the party that counts most to us right now is the people of Brampton. That's my party, the people of Brampton.
Wow.
And I would note one of the senior people involved on my campaign is here tonight, and that's Amjad Iqbal. Amjad has run campaigns actually for the Liberal Party for years in Brampton North, but shares my concern that this city is declining. And when you have people of his caliber joining the team, it really shows that you're gaining momentum. You know, he's been one of the sophisticated campaigners for the last 2 decades.
Oh, that's nice.
So one of the great things with this is that we get to engage the audience, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we'll be inviting questions from the audience, from the beautiful audience.
Fahim, I think he's talking to you. He said the beautiful audience. So.
But I know you, that's why I don't need any questions.
Okay, so
I know you very well, so.
Right. So
I'm okay with you.
okay.
I all vote with you.
So shouldn't we start with Maher? Maher, you had a chance to have a meet and greet with him.
That
so
way,
please start.
already he answered what my question.
Right.
So
meanwhile,
I
have you
just
thought
want to
anything?
know that Brampton should be crime less and drug less and beautiful and in all sides, like Mississauga is developed that way. So I want, that way in Brampton as well. So, and he already answered all of my questions.
Wow. And meanwhile, you didn't think anything
No,
else?
I
All
think
right.
no, because I know, I totally believe in Patrick. That's why I choose
Right,
him to
right.
support.
Right.
So that's why I know that
I'm
Patrick.
believing in you.
Well, I'll
For
say,
us.
Mayor had me at her beautiful home, and I felt horrible because I showed up 1 hour late.
Oh.
And I explained, I think it's because I've been going to too many Pakistani events that I
Yeah.
now show up on Pakistani Standard Time. But in all seriousness, we had a great conversation.
So now you have a higher chance to win from here, right?
I had a great conversation at Mayor's home about public safety. We talked to her neighbors, and they're concerned about the fact that car thefts, break-and enters, now go without even investigations. The police are so under-resourced that they can't investigate minor crimes. And the problem with that is you allow small crimes to go unchecked, it creates a criminal industry. And our current political leadership has allowed that to happen. If some thug goes out there and breaks into a car and knows that he'll never be investigated and can get away with it, of course, there'll be more people that break into cars. The same thing with breaking into a home.
Yeah.
No wonder we have more car thefts now in Brampton. No wonder we have more break-and enters. We're allowing a criminal industry to grow. We need to free up police resources to tackle crime, and that's why 2 weeks ago when I launched my 5-point plan on public safety, I talked about having the provincial average again. Police officers were 25% below. I talked about expanding the mental health supports so that police aren't spending 6 to 8 hours at the hospital. 42% of Peel police calls are mental health related, and we're tying the resources and time up of our police by not having adequate mental health supports.
Right.
I talked about how poverty is interrelated with crime, the backlog in social housing, the lack of access and affordability to recreation are important aspects of this complex challenge with crime. And frankly, we need to have a mayor that has a good relationship with our chief of police. We have a situation right now where the relationship is poisonous, where they're barely on talking terms. And I think we need to all be paddling the same direction. You want a canoe to go forward, you paddle in the same direction. Right now, we've got this dysfunctional situation where the mayor and the chief of police don't get along. The mayor doesn't get along with city council. No wonder we're treading water right now. We need to get the teamwork going again. The success of Bill Davis when he was Premier of Ontario is he was collegial. He worked with everyone, and he said, I'm going to collect good ideas from every corner. We're not doing that in Brampton. It is paralyzed by political infighting. And frankly, the captain of the team bears that responsibility. It's your job to unify the team and bring a common purpose and aspiration to everyone who's a member of that team.
Yeah, it's, as you said, that breaking up the windows and things like that, the crime is as rising. So it's more of a thing of breaking up the trust that the people of Brampton, the residents of Brampton should have on the city council and the mayor, that you're talking about that more on, that if we are revive the trust and we'll give back, we'll deliver things on concrete.
So you know who asked me the toughest questions when I spend a night going to events?
Yeah, is it about Kabaddi?
No. No, it's Genevieve.
Oh,
So, you know what, I don't mind the toughest question in the audience, but when I get home and my fiance says, did you have any dessert tonight? That's when I get a little nervous. I get a little hot under the collar, and I'm like, maybe I had a little bit of kheer, and she's like, you promised me you're on a diet. So the problem is I go to all these events, and there is such amazing food. Well, the beautiful thing about Brampton is you have this mosaic of communities, and you get to learn about the culinary aspects of every community, and it really is incredible. Most people who live in different parts of the world, they have to travel, they have to fly miles and miles and hours to learn about a new culture. Sometimes we forget how lucky we are. We have the world in Brampton. You want to try an amazing Karachi dish, you can go in Brampton and find it. You want to have some Nepalese momos, you can find it just like that. You want to have incredible Filipino halo dessert, you can find it just like that. There is some inner attributes about Brampton that I don't think we're capitalizing on. This is a city of multiple languages, highly educated, younger on average in Brampton. And I think those people-to-people connections, that expansive list of cultures and languages, makes this a very agile city that can compete with the world in different jurisdictions. I think we need to start looking more outward in Brampton. Where can we market our businesses to? Where can we find opportunities to sell our ideas and product to? And I think this is not just about Peel Region. This is about how can we make sure businesses in Brampton are successful well beyond our province and our country.
Right, and on a lighter, and just on a lighter note, that I think once it becomes the mayor, God willing, so I think Punjabi should be one of the official languages of Brampton. So also people here, and it will be a good thing. But we hear the announcements at Toronto Airport. It's in Punjabi, and you can just give your driver's license test in Punjabi as well. So yeah, as you said, that we have beautiful communities, multi-diversity is here, is one of the things that we can describe about Brampton. Yeah, please.
Hi Patrick, outside of my capacity as a host for one of the shows on NG Digital TV, in my day job I work on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and I actually work quite closely with the City of Brampton and with Linda, our Premier, as well. So it's a privilege to be here today to hear another candidate speak. Over 50% of the population currently in Brampton is of South Asian background. So diversity, equity, and inclusion issues are fundamental. And I'd be interested in knowing what your platform is on that. How do you, if you are going to be plan on incorporating diversity, equity, and inclusion in your projects and your programs, and how you approach your leadership?
Well, I think true leadership is making sure that it's not just showing up for a religious occasion and showing respect to the community on that day. It's more than talk. Action matters. You look at City Hall today, that diversity and inclusion we talk about, it's not there. You look at City Hall, you look at the staff at City Hall, you look at the leadership, it's not there. You look at those hiring committees, it's not there. And so I think we still have our work to do. When I was in provincial politics, I used to start off my speech the same way. I said, again and again and again, and Moshe knows it because he's heard me give talks before provincially, but I said, it doesn't matter where you live, it doesn't matter where you're born, it doesn't matter who you love, it doesn't matter what God you worship. Everyone has a home in Ontario, and everyone should be treated with the same opportunity, the quality of opportunity. And I'm proud of the positions I've taken in leadership. I was the first PC leader when I was in provincial politics to march in the Pride Parade to show my support for marriage equality. I was the only conservative leader in Canada to support Ikra Khalid's motion, M103, condemning Islamophobia. And I did so because hate is hate is hate. And for me, government should be blind to whether you're of Hindu faith or Jewish faith or Sikh faith or Catholic faith or Muslim faith. We treat everyone with respect and dignity in this country. And hate is against any faith is frankly anti-Canadian, because this is a country that is that embraces religious freedom to its fullest. And so I think throughout my time in politics, I've always been about inclusion and equality. Even as a young city councillor, when I was a city councillor, 22 years old, I had just been elected a few years ago. Genevieve likes to tease me about photos 18 years ago when I started. She said I had much worse taste. But when I first got elected to city council, they called them aldermen back then. Aldermen. Yeah. And in my hometown, where I was at the time, I put forward a motion changing it to councillor. And they asked me why I was changing the term alderman to councillor. And at the time, my youngest sister was still in high school, and she asked me, are women allowed to be aldermen? And I thought, what image does that send when the name of the elected official only refers to a man? And so I don't want anyone ever asking that question. And so whether it is treating women with respect, treating different faiths with respect, I think everything about politics should be making sure people are treated fairly. And I think in Canada we have made great strides. I'm not naive to the fact that we have it much better here in Canada than in many places in the world. I'm proud of that, but we never rest on being better than some others. We want to be the best that we can be, and I think we still have some significant work to do when it comes to diversity and inclusion. And in Brampton, I will look for those opportunities.
Yeah. Right. So, some other. How about you regarding some real estate?
I was talking to Patrick earlier as well, and we were talking about real estate.
Yeah.
How the real estate market was on a boom in Brampton, and Brampton was apparently one of the cities who took the greatest hit after. Thank you. Brampton was one of the biggest cities who took the greatest hit with the decline of the bubble that we were in, with foreign investors coming in. So how can you help investors come back, and people who are already in that financial crisis? How can you help real estate market to kind of just pick up again?
I think this is one of the greatest questions that many of us, like I'm the second person in here in Brampton, is maybe a brother or sister of a realtor, or himself a realtor, or a realtor. So this is a very good question. I would say round of applause for this
Thank you
question,
so much.
because
Thank you.
this is our need of time.
Because this is what we're all investing, as
Exactly.
Patrick said. He pointed out something very nice, that half of us, our retirement money is in our home.
Absolutely.
And that was amazing to hear
Yeah.
from him, because self-employment is also on the rise.
Exactly.
So I think that it kind of goes proportional. So it'd be nice to hear that from you.
When we were talking before the show, I was stressing the point that it's a delicate balance. As much as there's people that would like to see the housing market not be so expensive. We also remember that many people's life savings, their retirement, is in the value of their home, and so there's a lot of people that were very scared when we saw that decline in the real estate market. Without bursting the value of people's homes, I think there are opportunities to make housing more affordable. Obviously, there is a supply shortage. When you have more people looking for a new home than there is available supply, it distorts the marketplace. And I think there are areas, particularly in Brampton, that we have failed to address as a community, and we need some more leadership on. I look at student housing, and here we have an effort by the community to get a university, but no one's talking about student housing. We have a pretty difficult situation right now with sometimes 15 students in a basement apartment. I've heard horror stories like that. And so we're aspiring to have a university, and we're not talking about having the student housing. There are companies that build student housing, but they have to be engaged. We have to actually, what's the plan? Where is it going to be? Where are we going to encourage it? The fact that we haven't had that conversation shows some of the short-sighted approach right now that we're seeing at City Hall. I'd also say we have significant challenges to long-term care too. And I realize there's going to be a mix of residences. You want to keep seniors in their home as much as possible, and there is a marketplace for that type of housing. There's also a real need when it comes to 3 to 4 year wait lists for long-term care. And so I think we need to make sure, when it comes to young people, when it comes to seniors, when it comes to families, the single-family units, I think we need to have a mix of supply. And right now we're currently short on that mix.
Well, yes, so that would be the way that we can bring back investments in real estate and things like that. It's a great thing. So before I go to Salah Ahmed, how about please go ahead.
So, Mr. Brown, how do you plan on tackling other main issues, such as the high property taxes in Brampton, the rising crime rate, infrastructure like the buses, public transportation, and everything? How do you plan on making everyday man life more easier, comfortable? And also car insurance, like the rate of auto fraud and everything. How do you plan on making everything more efficient and affordable? Because recently the gas prices went down 15 cents if you saw the lineup today. And I gave my vote to Mr. Ford, and he is a man of his word, and he actually acted on the promise that he was going to cut the carbon tax So do you, can you explain to me your plan for making things like property taxes, like insurance, everything like?
Exactly, the auto insurances as well, because
Yeah.
is one of the things, and the property taxes. So the one good thing or weird thing, I'm not sure, I'll ask him. So he's the man of his words, right? This you said for Doug Ford, right?
This is the first Doug Ford fan that I've met in a very long time.
You're the second? Okay, you are the third?
Yeah, long
Yeah,
time.
my gas prices fluctuate, so they were down temporarily, then they went back up. No politician can control the price of gas, so we should stay away from. I've always felt in politics, stay away from commitments that can't be honored, because then it creates skepticism in the public towards the political process. And I think obviously there are international markets that will dictate the price of gas. So that's a different debate. But I would say that when it comes to municipal issues, we're going to freeze your property taxes for the next 4 years. We're going to make sure that we push more aggressively for our fair share in transit. You talked about transit. How is it that we're happy getting $200 million for an LRT extension when Scarborough's getting $3 billion, that Mississauga is getting $1 billion, that Hamilton is getting $1 billion? How are we satisfied getting pennies compared to what they're getting? That's failed political leadership. You mentioned about auto insurance. That's a provincial issue that will be regulated by the province. But I think as a city we can advocate to the Premier that we want to end geographical discrimination. That insurance companies shouldn't be allowed to charge more based on what postal code they're in. I did make that commitment when I was the PC leader last November, that we would end geographical discrimination. And I know recently at a press conference, Doug Ford was asked if he'll honor Patrick Brown's commitment on auto insurance, and he said that he's going to attempt to by December. We'll see if he does or not. But I do believe standing up to insurance companies and saying that they should not be allowed to have geographical discrimination would be the right thing to do.
Right, of course. So you'll be okay. All right. So Mr. Amani has already asked, right, for you on your behalf as well.
Amjad, any tough questions?
Any?
I think you still miss the part of safety as well. You had some concern about
But earlier we had, if you came later, that's another.
Yeah, Amjad, you were a bit late. I was on Pakistani Standard Time at theirs, but you were on Pakistani Standard Time for this event. But we talked about my plan for public safety a little bit earlier in the show.
Yeah. Discuss that. So you can watch this on NG Television official page. So we had one more viewer on there. Yeah, please go ahead.
So Patrick, how every mayor candidate comes in and they've got some plan and something they want to do, something they want to change. That's always that. Anybody comes new wants to do something different, something new for the city. Do you have any top 2 plan that you plan to do apart of your whole bucket of things that you want to do for Brampton? What is going to be your first 2 things that you're going to do once you step in as mayor?
Well, I think the first issue that we have to address is public safety. You can have everything in the community, but if you don't have safety, then you're not thinking about anything else. We've had lockdowns in schools this
I was
year.
thinking it could be eating kheer, probably.
A celebratory kheer. No, but I think public safety is the most pressing issue.
Yeah.
Economic development is up there. Gridlock. Those are all big issues. I have talked about some initiatives that I personally committed to. Free transit for seniors through optimizing our advertising on city buses. I think showing support for our seniors with free transit will be a great gesture of support for those that have built our community. I also talked about engaging private sector investment to build a sports stadium in Brampton like they did in Lansdowne. In Ottawa, at the old Lansdowne Park, they engaged the private sector and got this beautiful $300 million stadium built. Didn't cost taxpayers a single penny. And so engaging ideas that have worked in other communities that could be an economic spin-off for Brampton, I think are things that we want to get off the ground quickly.
Right, and the committee would be inside that?
You could have cricket, you could have kabaddi, you could have field hockey, soccer. Yeah,
That's nice.
any major sporting event.
Comedy as well. Right. So Najamali, please come here. Thank you so very much. So one time, our host, please try. So now, yeah, she's not a young person. Like January. Okay. So,
Okay,
Should we leave Namja and Genevieve to finish the interview? The two of them can just look at each other and not talk.
yeah, you want something else?
I'll ask the lady actually, she's been quiet for a while, and you just said talking. So let me get some feedback. How confident do you think are you that he's going to be the mayor for Brampton?
I mean, well, if you guys have seen his work ethic, I think that speaks volumes. But let me just say that when everything happened about 6-7 months ago, you know, he was offered some good jobs, some great jobs, and I told him, take them and run. And he said, no, I'm meant to be a public servant, and I'm meant to serve in Brampton.
Yes.
And so that's why he's doing this, and if he didn't feel that strongly, he would have taken those jobs and would have made me very happy. But this is what he was meant to do, and yeah, I think that Bramptonians are very lucky if he becomes mayor.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
We are just really hoping second up to you.
And I still remember, I would like to share one more thing. When I was officially interviewing Patrick Brown in my show, that I asked him, I knew that he had to be, and whenever I meet somebody, I tell them, I share my ideas in my communities, that Patrick Brown is a person that he had to be the Premier of Ontario. And we would be more privileged if he had, but God has something to do. So he has, the Brampton is, in his eyes, in God's eyes, is more blessed that he would be now our mayor. So we are looking forward to it, right?
Yes.
So thank God that he is not the premier. So he has more things to do directly for Brampton, right?
Yes.
Right?
Shukriya for your kind words.
Right, so here we have something from Cell. Learn now. Learn now with Patrick Brown. He doesn't show Learn now with Salim. So I think.
Yeah. So I don't do political shows, but I'm a big fan of yours. And I would like to know, I think she already told the story that why you came into the politics and all that. So I would have asked you the same question, like what brought you into this field and why politics for you?
Well, you know, my background is I'm a lawyer, and you know, I go to the courthouse, and sometimes it can be redundant. You don't feel like apologies to any lawyers out there, but you don't feel like you're making a mark or contributing. I'm sure there are those that do in their own ways, but I really felt that in public service, you have the opportunity to make a difference. That if you're in it for the right reasons, you can better the community that you care about. And I've seen it. I've lived it. You know, I remember the battle we waged against the province's cuts to autism funding. There was this IBI therapy that makes the world of a difference to children with autism, and we fought the cuts and we got them reversed. And that IBI therapy is now available that was being taken away. And you know, that's the beauty of public service, is that you can actually affect people's lives for the better. And there's nothing more rewarding than having a campaign over an issue and see it realized. And I look at Brampton, you know, if we're able to enhance recreation, give people peace of mind and security, if we're able to bring some businesses here and then meet people who have jobs. You know, I can tell you, we bring a big business here, and I meet someone who's working at that business. There's nothing that makes you feel better than knowing that you're making people's lives better, right?
Yeah, getting them appointments. Right, so Jennifer, would you be sharing some more things and your views about you?
he's the politician.
Yeah,
No, I have one more question for you. Would you like to involve in the politics in the future, or no?
Or just behind the
Absolutely
scenes?
not.
Behind the
Absolutely
scene?
not. Politics is far too cruel for.
Okay.
And there is a saying that behind every successful man there is a woman. So
Woman.
here
Sure.
is the case.
Women
Jennifer
power.
is the woman. That
Well, Genevieve works at Sick Kids Foundation. So for their,
she's contributing.
everyone there has a passion for helping make sure we have the best healthcare for children, and so we both have a passion for public service, just in different ways.
So I think that she's volunteering, she's giving back to the community. For her. Thank you very much. We appreciate and we yes, you're doing it. So small thing. A couple of people are there. They are not. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Or I can drag them here. Make them ask.
Well, I think we've covered all the questions.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you for having this conversation. Yeah.
And yeah.
And thank you so much.
Thank you so very
A
much.
hand to our host, Namja.
And here, for January, there is a beautiful thing. I think we don't have kheer right now, right? We don't have kheer, so it's a good thing for you. So he would be having his sugar level on the level.
Biryani's even better.
Yeah. So thank you so much. Thank you indeed. We are privileged. We are honored that you had time out of your schedule and you came here. So thank you so very much. Okay, so I will don't pronounce things about dinner. So dinner is in kitchen, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
You share card? Okay, hello everyone. We are here from live going from NJ Studio. Hello. And we had Honorable Patrick Brown with us tonight, and lots of people with us. You heard already. So let me show you something.
We have such a nice one.
Okay.